For weeks, Welcome to Plathville fans thought they had already seen the worst of the family drama, but then Zach stepped into the middle of the Plath family storm, and suddenly everything started feeling darker, heavier, and way more personal than anyone expected. This was not just another uncomfortable family conversation where people sit in a room, smile through the pain, and pretend they are working things out for the cameras. This felt like the moment where years of family tension, old wounds, hidden judgment, and unspoken anger finally found a new target. And this time, that target was Zach. The shocking part is not only that the Plaths had concerns about him. The shocking part is how fast the conversation turned from family concerns into something that looked like a full emotional showdown. One side seemed to believe Zach was stepping too far into family matters, while the other side felt he was being misunderstood, judged, and painted like the villain of a story he had barely entered. And right in the middle of all of this was Lydia. Lydia was not just watching her family question her husband. She was watching two parts of her life collide in real time. On one side, she had the family that shaped her, raised her, and gave her the world she came from. On the other side, she had Zach, the person she chose, the person she married, and the person she clearly wanted her family to accept. That is what makes this drama hit so hard. Because this is not only Zach versus the Plaths. This is Lydia being forced into the most painful position possible. She is standing between loyalty and love, between her past and her future, and between a family that still wants a voice in her life and a husband who may believe it is time for new boundaries. Now, when Zach first entered the Plath world, fans already knew things were not going to be simple. The Plath family has never been the kind of family where a new person walks in and everyone suddenly starts holding hands under a rainbow. This family has history. This family has deep beliefs. This family has broken relationships, emotional distance, and enough unresolved tension to power an entire reality TV network. So when Zach became part of Lydia's life, he was not just meeting in-laws. He was entering a family system that already had cracks everywhere. And when a new person steps into a family like that, every opinion sounds louder. Every disagreement feels personal, and every small comment can turn into a major problem. That is exactly what seems to have happened here. The Plath family did not just see Zach as Lydia's husband. Some of them seemed to see him as someone who came in with strong opinions, strong beliefs, and maybe too much confidence about how things should be handled. And whether Zach intended it that way or not, the family clearly felt something was off. Ethan's reaction became one of the biggest talking points because he did not dance around the issue. He basically made it clear that Zach should not give opinions unless someone asks for them. That one moment told viewers everything they needed to know about the tension in the room. This was not casual discomfort. This was a warning. And when family members start giving warnings, the drama has already moved past normal disagreement. But here is where the story gets more complicated. From Zach and Lydia's side, this was not just about Zach speaking too much or being too involved. To them, it looked like the family was judging him, without fully understanding him. Lydia later pushed back against the backlash, and she seemed to believe people were only seeing a small piece of the bigger picture. That matters because reality TV always creates one dangerous illusion. Viewers think they are seeing everything, when in reality, they are seeing edited moments, emotional highlights, and the most dramatic pieces of a much longer story. But even knowing that, fans still reacted strongly because what they did see felt tense enough to raise serious questions. Was Zach being protective, or was he being too forceful? Was the Plath family setting boundaries, or were they rejecting someone Lydia loves? Was Lydia defending her marriage, or was she ignoring warning signs from people who care about her? That is the messy part, and that is why this storyline has become so gripping. Because there is no clean hero here. There is no simple villain either. There is just a family that already had emotional damage, a new husband trying to find his place, and a young woman caught between two worlds that do not seem ready to understand each other. And the more you look at it, the more this drama feels like it was never really only about Zach. Zach may be the person everyone is talking about right now, but the reaction to him exposes something much bigger inside the Plath family. This family still struggles with control. They struggle with change. They struggle with letting people grow into new versions of themselves. And every time someone steps outside the old family pattern, the whole system shakes. That is why Lydia's marriage became such a big deal. Because marriage is not just a relationship change. For Lydia, it is a shift in loyalty. It is a sign that her main emotional home may no longer be the Plath family. And for a family that already has so much history with separation, conflict, and broken trust, that kind of shift can feel threatening. So when Zach speaks, the family does not only hear Zach. They hear change. They hear distance. They hear the possibility that Lydia may choose a life they cannot control anymore. And that is where the real drama begins. That is the part that makes Zach versus the Plaths more intense than a simple disagreement. Because on the surface, everyone may talk about respect, opinions, boundaries, and communication. But underneath all of that, the real question is much deeper. Who has influence over Lydia now? Is it her family, who have known her since she was a child and still see her through the lens of who she used to be? Or is it Zach, the man she married, who now stands beside her as she builds a new life? That question is uncomfortable, and nobody in the room seemed ready to say it directly. So instead, it came out through smaller comments, sharper reactions, and those tense pauses where everybody knows something serious is happening. But nobody wants to be the first person to make it worse. This is where Zach became such a controversial figure for fans. Some viewers looked at him and saw a husband trying to protect his wife from family pressure. They saw someone who was not afraid to speak up, someone who believed Lydia deserved respect, and someone who did not want the Plath family to keep pulling her back into old patterns. But other viewers saw something very different. They felt Zach was coming in too strong. They felt he was acting like he had the right to judge a family dynamic he had only recently entered. And for those fans, his confidence did not look protective. It looked controlling. That is why this storyline exploded online. Because the same moment can look completely different, depending on which side you already trust. If you trust Zach, then the Plaths look unfair. If you trust the Plaths, then Zach looks like the problem. And if you do not trust anyone, then congratulations, you are probably watching the show correctly. The most painful part is that Lydia looked trapped inside the middle of this mess. She did not seem like someone who wanted a war. She seemed like someone who wanted peace, acceptance, and a simple chance to be happy without everyone turning her marriage into a family debate. But in the Plath world, happiness never arrives alone. It brings a full suitcase of conflict, religious tension, emotional history, and at least 3 people who need to talk things through on camera. For Lydia, defending Zach was not only about protecting her husband. It was also about protecting her own choice. Because if the family rejects Zach, it can feel like they are also rejecting Lydia's decision to marry him. And when you are already part of a family where independence has always been complicated, that kind of rejection can hit very hard. This is why Lydia's response after the backlash mattered so much. She did not simply stay quiet while fans criticized Zach. She stepped forward and defended him, making it clear that viewers were not seeing the whole story. And that was a major moment because it showed where her loyalty was going in public. Lydia was not just asking fans to be nicer. She was reminding everyone that reality TV only shows a piece of someone's life. The cameras may capture the fight, the awkward silence, and the dramatic reaction, but they do not capture every private conversation, every apology, every good moment, or every reason why someone stays loyal to the person they love. That does not mean fans are wrong to question what they saw. It just means the story is more complicated than a few edited scenes. And that is exactly what makes Zach versus the Plaths so powerful as a storyline. It is not clean. It is not simple. It is not just one person doing everything right and another person doing everything wrong. It is a clash between different versions of love. The Plaths may believe they are protecting Lydia. Zach may believe he is protecting Lydia. Lydia may believe she is protecting her marriage. But when everyone thinks they are protecting the same person, the situation can become even more explosive. Because protection can start to look like pressure, concern can start to feel like control, and love can turn into a fight over who gets the final word. That is where the family confrontation became more than just a scene from the finale. It became a symbol of everything Welcome to Plathville has always been about. This show has never only been about family drama. It has always been about what happens when people raised inside one strict emotional system begin choosing different lives. Ethan chose differently. Moriah chose differently. Micah chose differently. Olivia challenged the family in her own way. And now Lydia, who once seemed like one of the most loyal and traditional Plath children, is stepping into a new chapter that may separate her from the family in ways nobody expected. That shift is huge, because Lydia was never the obvious rebel of the family. She was not the one fans expected to create the biggest shockwave. She was often seen as gentle, faithful, emotional, and deeply connected to her family values. So when her marriage suddenly became the center of a major conflict, it changed the way fans looked at her story. This was not just Lydia getting married. This was Lydia choosing a side, even if she never wanted to call it that. And for the Plath family, that may be the hardest part to accept. They may not only be reacting to Zach as a person, they may be reacting to what Zach represents. He represents Lydia becoming less available to them emotionally. He represents a new household, a new loyalty, and a new voice in her life. He represents the possibility that the family no longer has the same influence over her choices. That is why every comment from Zach feels bigger than it normally would. When he speaks, it does not sound like just one opinion. It sounds like a new boundary forming. When he pushes back, it does not feel like just a disagreement. It feels like Lydia's new life pushing against her old one. And when Lydia defends him, it does not look like a simple wife supporting her husband. It looks like a clear message that she is not willing to let the family decide what her marriage means. That is why this drama just got worse. Because now the conflict is no longer only happening inside the Plath family, it has moved outside the screen and into the audience. Fans are choosing sides. Some are defending Lydia. Some are questioning Zach. Some are accusing the family of repeating old patterns. And some are watching the whole thing like emotional detectives, pausing every scene as if they are solving a crime instead of watching reality television. But the biggest question still has not been answered. Can Zach and the Plaths ever truly understand each other? Or has too much damage already been done? And that question is exactly what makes the next chapter so dangerous for the Plath family. Because when a family reaches the point where every conversation feels like a test of loyalty, healing becomes almost impossible. People stop listening to understand each other. They start listening for proof that they were right all along. And once that happens, even a simple sentence can turn into another family war. For Zach, the problem now is not only what the Plaths think about him. The problem is that a large part of the audience has already started forming an opinion about him too. That means every facial expression, every comment, every pause, and every moment with Lydia is now being watched like evidence. Fans are no longer just watching a relationship. They are judging it. And that kind of pressure can destroy even a peaceful marriage. So imagine what it can do to a marriage sitting in the middle of Plathville drama. The more people question Zach, the more Lydia may feel pushed to defend him. And the more Lydia defends him, the more her family may feel like they are losing access to her. That creates a painful cycle where everyone thinks they are standing up for love, but somehow everyone ends up feeling attacked. This is where the story becomes twisted. Because the Plath family may believe they are warning Lydia before it is too late. They may think they see red flags, emotional pressure, or a personality that does not blend well with their family. From their side, speaking up might feel like protection, but from Lydia's side, it may feel completely different. To her, it may feel like the family is not respecting her marriage. It may feel like they are treating her like someone who cannot make her own decisions. And when a grown woman feels like her family still sees her as a child, that wound can cut deeper than any argument about Zach. So now Lydia is not only defending her husband, she is defending her adulthood. That is the hidden layer in all of this. This drama is not only about whether Zach is right or wrong, it is about whether Lydia is allowed to grow into a life that her family does not fully understand. And that is something Welcome to Plathville has shown again and again. Growth in this family rarely looks peaceful. It usually looks like distance, tears, silence, and one very uncomfortable conversation after another. The most intense part is that nobody seems fully ready to let go. The family wants Lydia close. Zach wants Lydia protected. Lydia wants peace. But peace cannot survive if every side believes the other side is the threat. And right now, that is exactly how this situation feels. This is why the Zach versus the Plaths storyline is not calming down. It is becoming the new emotional center of the show. Before this, fans were focused on Ethan and Olivia, Kim and Barry, Moriah's choices, and the long history of family breakdowns. But now, Lydia's marriage has opened a fresh door into the same old Plath problem. Who gets to control the story? Who gets to decide what is healthy? Who gets to say when concern becomes interference? And who gets to tell Lydia what love should look like? Those questions are bigger than one fight. They are bigger than one finale. They are the kind of questions that can follow a family for years, especially when the wounds are already deep and everyone has their own version of the truth. And that is why the ending of this drama feels so uncertain. Maybe Zach and the Plaths will find a way to rebuild trust. Maybe they will sit down again, speak more carefully, and realize that everyone was reacting from fear instead of hate. Maybe Lydia will become the bridge between her husband and her family. But there is also another possibility. Maybe this confrontation was only the beginning of a bigger separation. Maybe the more Zach is questioned, the more Lydia pulls away. Maybe the Plaths will keep seeing Zach as a problem, while Lydia keeps seeing their concern as judgment. And if that happens, the family may be heading toward another painful split. That is the real danger here. Because in Welcome to Plathville, one fight is never just one fight. It always connects to something older. It connects to control, childhood, religion, independence, loyalty, and the painful process of becoming your own person in a family that still remembers the old version of you. For Lydia, this may be the biggest emotional test of her life. She has to decide how to honor her family without letting them define her marriage. She has to support Zach without ignoring the concerns around her. And she has to find her own voice in a room full of people who all think they know what is best for her. That is not easy. And for Zach, the challenge is just as serious. If he truly wants a future with Lydia, he may have to prove that he is not there to separate her from the people she loves. He may have to show patience, humility, and control, even when he feels misunderstood. Because in a family like the Plaths, one wrong move can become a storyline, and one emotional reaction can become the moment fans never forget. So when we say Zach versus the Plaths just got worse, we are not only talking about one dramatic scene. We are talking about a marriage under pressure, a family afraid of change, and a young woman standing at the center of a storm she never wanted to create. And the saddest part is that everyone may believe they are doing the right thing. That is what makes this conflict so powerful. The Plaths may believe they are protecting Lydia. Zach may believe he is standing up for their marriage. Lydia may believe she is choosing love. But when every person is fighting for a different version of the same future, the result is not peace. The result is heartbreak. And now fans are left with one final question. Is Zach really the problem? Or did he simply expose the problems that were already waiting inside the Plath family? This is a fictional story for entertainment purposes.